Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret, and today I am talking to Ramit Sethi. He is the host of Netflix hit show How to Get Rich, the host of the popular podcast Money for Couples, and the author of the New York Times bestseller I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Ramit is known for his unconventional insights on money, psychology, and his no-nonsense approach to designing and living a rich life. Today we are talking about his second New York Times bestseller, Money for Couples. Welcome, Ramit.
Thanks for having me.
We talk a lot on the podcast about how our problems start when we try to skip talking about the problem. And I think the book gets at this really well. Why is talking about money so difficult, even with the person we supposedly are closest to in the world, our partner or our spouse?
Well, when you think about it, most of us have a love-hate relationship with money. We love looking at people on Instagram going to Bora Bora on Wednesday. We love the ability to go buy something nice for ourselves, kids, families. That's great. But we also hate money. We hate the rich. We hate keeping track of a budget. By the way, I hate that as well. I don't track using a budget. I think it's pointless. We hate having to learn what a 401k and a target date fund is. And because most of us deep down have this love-hate relationship, when it comes to thinking and talking about money, it's almost always talked about like this. I guess we got to talk about it. We should probably figure out the bill. It's so negative.
Yes.
And when other people see money, they see a complicated spreadsheet or some weird words. I see a beautiful family trip to Disneyland. I see the ability to buy a beautiful cashmere coat or to go to the grocery store or a restaurant and not have to choose based on price. So that's why I'm so excited to get a chance to talk about living a rich life, because the point is not just to accumulate more money, it's to actually use it to live your rich life.
I think there's also something in a lot of the issues that we talk about, whether it's what might be going wrong with one of our children or what's kind of not going great at the heart of our marriage, that if we talk about it, it becomes real. Yeah. And I often say to my spouse, but if we look at, our money, we're going to realize we don't have enough to do all the stuff we like doing. And so I don't want to.
I think that's really insightful.
That starting point, how do we get past it? Because that's where I get stuck. Like, I kind of want to just put my fingers in my ears, whistle past the graveyard, and go to Target and buy the things I want.
Okay, so this is classic. This is what I would call an avoider. Avoiders are one of the 4 money types. And we can see why avoiding actually works for a long time. Think about it. People in debt, for example, when I talk to them, 90% of people I talk to in debt do not know how much they owe. 95% of people in debt do not know their debt payoff date, meaning the month and year they will be debt-free. They have no idea. And it actually makes a lot of sense. I'm going to ignore those envelopes. I'm going to ignore those emails. Guess what? My internet still works. I still have a roof over my head. I can still go out and eat a little lunch here and there. It's actually fine. My world is not collapsing. But there's a problem. Number one, when it comes to money, if you ignore money time works against you. Because the earlier you start paying off this debt, investing, all those things, you actually get massive, massive rewards using the power of time. But second, many people who are avoiders, they actually just live a smaller life than they have to. And I think it's a tragedy to live a smaller life than you have to. The idea that, oh, my rich life is getting an extra order of onion rings. No, life has
Not
surely
that there's anything wrong with getting
No,
an
I don't
extra
care if you
order
get
of
onion rings. That's fine, but that can't be your rich life.
Right.
It can't only be limited to, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be bad this weekend. Notice that puritanical vow. Bad means spending money. Good means, oh, I didn't do anything. No, we cannot play small with our money. And in order to play big, in order to live a rich life, whatever your definition of a rich life is, you actually have to confront money and you actually have to get pretty good at it.
Let's talk about confronting money and your idea of a rich life, because this was really interesting to me. This is where sometimes we feel like conflict comes as a couple, that we have very different ideas about what's important to spend money on. And we maybe undervalue the things that our partner thinks are important. And we kind of get into, we often say on the podcast, watch your story. And the story becomes, they're so boring, they want to save for college. I'm so fun, I want to go to Disney World. And how do we start reframing our language around money? And this is kind of where you start the book. How do we start having these conversations in a more positive way?
Okay. Can I get personal? Can I ask you and your spouse, have you ever talked about what your rich life is?
I think we have, and we talk about this. We were married in the Catholic Church, and we did something called pre-Cana, which I always say I went into being like, this is so goofy. I can't believe we have to deal with this. It was so useful because they really asked us questions like, what is the role of money in your life? And I think it established a pattern for us. And we do try to meet monthly and say, like, what are our priorities? What are we trying to do? It's been a process to, as we say, get on the same side of the net against money, that it's not a fight between us. It's us trying to figure out the problem. We don't do it perfectly. I think we have fairly different ideas about the rich life, but we've been working and having a lot of conversations about how to get there.
I love that. Truthfully, everything you're saying sounds very relatable. I think that we often imagine that everyone else has this perfectly linear, organized way of handling money, but we are the sloppy ones, the ones who don't have it all. But that's not true. I talk to tons of people, including every week on my own podcast. And you have to know that, first of all, couples really only substantively talk about money 4 times in their relationship. That's it. I'm talking about over 40 or 50 years. Here are the 4 times. The first, it's not when they move in. They don't really even talk about it. It's not even when they get married. They literally lick their finger, put it in the sky and go, oh, I think we'll spend $20,000 on our wedding. Like, that's it. That's the extent of how far people go. They talk about money if and when they buy a house. Just a little bit. They barely run any numbers, but at least they talk about it.
Can we afford it? Okay, yeah.
They talk about it if and when they have kids. That's a real substantive conversation because it often involves one person stepping back from work or childcare arrangements. That's 2. 3, if one of them gets laid off, that's an emergency conversation where they really have to look at numbers. And number 4, right around the age of 60, when they go, oh, what the hell? What's retirement? Do we have enough? That's it.
I'm going to add one more for you because I'm in the middle of it.
Please.
When their kids start to get ready to go to college.
Yeah, I think,
and they go,
I think for
how
some,
the heck are we going to pay for that?
Yeah, for some, that's true. And you can see the pattern of this. The pattern is most couples are totally reactive with money. They wait until there's something looming right around the corner. And one of the key differences between people living a rich life and everybody else is people who live a rich life plan before they have to. Now, planning doesn't have to be this complicated thing with 50 million spreadsheets. In fact, I'm going to give everybody the exact words you use to have your first positive conversation about money. This is directly from the book because most couples have never actually had a positive conversation. It's like, why'd you spend that much at Target? I can't believe you bought another energy drink, blah, blah, blah. No, we're actually going to approach this positively. So first thing you do, if you're listening or you're watching this, you're probably the one a little bit more interested in money. You go to your partner, you say, you know what? I realize that when we talk about money in the past, it hasn't gone the way that we want it to. Maybe I've been a little overbearing, but I want to change that. I want to be able to connect on money. That's part one. That's simply approaching with vulnerability, maybe sharing a little bit about your own shortcomings. We all have them. And then painting a picture. I want to be able to connect about money. Step two, right now when we talk about money, I feel nervous. I feel scared. I feel alone. How about you? Notice that I'm engaging in a dialogue. I don't want this to be a big monologue. They might say this, they might say that. It doesn't really matter. You just want to give them a space to talk. Step three, I want to feel competent. I want to feel calm. I want to feel connected. How about you? And number four, it's really simple. When should we talk about this next? How about next Thursday morning? Done. Give each other a big old hug, declare victory, and go home. This is so key. When we talk about money, we don't need to have the conversation. Reframe it. We get to have 1,000 conversations. And so you don't need to do everything at once. All you need to do is just enough to give each other a big hug and then talk about it next time.
You talk in the book, which really resonated with me, $3 questions versus $30,000 questions, because I think that we talk about the idea of stable misery and getting just kind of stuck in the same loops again and again, that the $3 questions are where a lot of the conflict is coming up. That's the Starbucks, why did you buy that? We don't need that, versus lay out for us the difference between the $3 and the $30,000 question.
Most people are obsessed with $3 questions, and they really should be focused on asking $30,000 questions. $3 questions are, why'd you buy that coffee? Ooh, should we get the extra appetizer? Ooh, I'm bad. Those are totally irrelevant. If you like coffee, buy coffee. It truly makes virtually no difference on the overall big picture of your finances. But the $30,000 questions are the important ones. Examples are, what is our savings and investment rate? What percentage of net income are we contributing? What is our asset allocation? Most people don't even know what that phrase means.
Right.
What fees are we paying to, say, a financial advisor? Do we have an unnecessary scam whole life insurance policy? Do you even know that? You should, because that could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are the core questions. There's about 5 to 10. I lay them all out of the big ones. And if you get the big $30,000 questions right, you can buy all the pickles and coffee you want. You don't have to track the price
every morning.
You don't have to track the price of russet potatoes. It's a complete waste of time. You're playing small by focusing on that. And you can actually play big when you get the big questions right.
We talked about myself, the avoider. You talk about 3 other types. And I love a type because it makes you feel like I'm heard, I'm seen. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm the avoider. Don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about the optimizer.
Okay, I have a soft spot for optimizers because I am one.
Okay,
and
we always love our own types. Love it.
Exactly. An optimizer loves a good spreadsheet. You're
what we call on this podcast an Amy.
Oh, there we go. Hey, Amy, sorry you can't be here today, but we're going to talk a little bit about you behind your back.
Yeah.
Okay, optimizers love to plan. They love to build systems. They love control. As you can see, I'm leaning forward. I'm getting excited because I'm talking about myself. So cool. Yeah. Everything on my desk is perfectly organized right now because I'm a freak. The problem is, optimizers, it can be very helpful because they build systems, they invest, they do all these things really well. The problem is they can become unbearably boring and cheap. Okay. And for people listening, it may be you or it may be your spouse where they're always looking at the cost. Always. Oh, that's a nice sweater. How much did it cost? Oh, we could get the steak. How much does it cost? Maybe we should get the chicken. And at a certain point, they are only living in a spreadsheet. But that's not the point of money. Okay. A rich life is lived outside the spreadsheet. So that's optimizers. Then we have worriers. Worriers love to worry. They worry if they will have enough. They worry if they can pay for their kids to go to college. If they actually start to accumulate a lot of money, they still worry, and then they worry why they are worrying.
Right.
For worriers, it's often all they have known. And oftentimes when I speak to people, particularly women, their moms are worried. And their grandmothers were. It is the only way that they know how to relate to money. And when I ask them, because many times I'll talk to people and when I analyze their finances, they never realized how much they had. Just to give you a really shocking example, 50% of the people I talk to on my podcast do not know their own household income. 50. That's not a typo, 50. So when I talk to them and I show them how much they'll have when they invest, blah, 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 they're often visibly shocked. And I'll say, you've been worrying about having enough for 25 years. Now that you see the path you are on, now that you see how much you actually have, that's a lot more than you thought. Does it change the way you feel? And you know what they say?
No. Because they're worriers.
They're worriers. That is who they are. Now, two important points to know. Number one, the way you feel about money is highly uncorrelated with how much you have in the bank. Deep down, many of us believe that if we just had 5,000, 50,000, 500,000 more, suddenly we would stop worrying and the sun would shine and we would go out and dance with the butterflies. Sorry to say, that's not the way it works. You can feel better about money. So worriers have to fundamentally, number one, they got to know their numbers. And number two, they have to actually work on their money psychology. They have to realize that you have to put work into your relationship with money, just like we put work into our relationship with food, kids, parents, in-laws, all of it. The final category, we talked about avoider, we talked about worrier, we talked about optimizer. The final one is a dreamer. Dreamers believe that success is right around the corner. It's the next gig, the next job, the next deal.
Yeah, I'm also a dreamer as well as being an avoider.
Whoa.
I'm a dreamer avoider. So
dreamers even develop their own language. They'll say stuff like, oh, I don't need to work a 9 to 5. That's for suckers. Oh, investing 7% return. That's so boring. And they typically fall into things like MLM, crypto, like very kind of get rich quick opportunities. Now, the problem is it's very hard for the partners of dreamers because the partners are like, hey, we need stability. We need to invest consistently. We need to save. We need to look at these numbers and talk about it. And the dreamer goes, no. It's all about the gig, the deal.
Right.
Often what I find is that dreamers are subsidized by somebody in their life. Either their spouse is handling all the emotional, financial labor, or their parents are funding things. If that partner left or even went away for a month or two, the house of cards would fall. And typically what you would find is that this person, the dreamer, would actually have to figure things out on their own instead of merely living in the clouds.
Let's take a break and we're going to talk about how these money types work together in relationships and how couples can design their rich life visions together.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEA Malibu.com.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
So before the break, we were talking about these 4 types. And obviously in a couple, you can have any particular types. My dreamer, by the way, I'm not into MLMs, or I'm not like a schemer dreamer. I'm more of a, something great will happen and it'll all work out. I'm kind of a little bit of a, I'm an over optimist. That's the kind of dreamer that I am.
I hear that. And then as an optimizer, I'm like, yeah, something great will happen. That's why we're going to use my system and automatically invest every single month so that we know the exact month and year that we're going to have enough money to go do that thing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and I think that this is where the heart of the book lies, is how to design this rich life vision you want with your partner. Yeah. So let's talk about money dials. I love this concept. We always talk in parenting about like adjusting the dials. Yes. That these are not doorways. These are not single decisions. These are not, you're going to make a good decision and your kid is going to go to Harvard, or you're going to make a bad decision and your kid's going to turn out terrible. That you're constantly working dials as a parent to make outcomes, and you have to adjust for a lot of incoming information. And you have to adjust as your child ages and stages. So talk about money dials, because I think this is really going to resonate with our audience.
I love hearing how people love to spend money. It's one of my favorite things. And one of the questions that I'll ask people is, what is your rich life? And this is the answer that almost 85% of people will say. They say, well, I want to do what I want, when I want. Almost everybody independently says that answer to me. And I'll just say, okay, what do you want? And they just stare at me and they just blink. Most people have never deeply thought about what their rich life is. You know, we go to work, or our partner goes to work, and we stay up late, we take care of family, but we never actually ask ourselves, what is it all for? What do I get? What do I want? And so one easy way to do that is to start thinking about what you love to spend money on. So if I ask you, Margaret, what do you love to spend money on? What would you say?
I love to spend money on good food. I love to spend money on travel. And when I travel, I like the travel to be fancy. I'd rather travel once a year fancy than 5 times a year. And fancy for me is not, Bora Bora at the it's not the White Lotus.
Hold on. Why are you minimizing what you like?
Well, because fancy, I don't know that I'm minimizing, but I think fancy is, I know where my level of fancy is.
Okay.
And it's worth it to me to go less often and get to my level of fancy.
I love it.
I don't want to take 5 years off to do White Lotus fancy. That's not interesting to me. I want to go once a year, go pretty fancy, comfy, and then that's what I like to spend money on.
Okay. So for everybody listening, this is step 1 of understanding your money dial, which is, what do you love to spend money on? Not just like, but love. It lights you up. You read magazines. You have a list of what you would do.
Yeah.
The most common answer, actually, Margaret, you nailed it. The most common answer is food. Most people love to eat out or buy certain types of food. So that's the number 1 most common money dial. The number 2 is travel.
Oh, look at me.
You're in good company. The number 3 is health and wellness. Number 4 is my primary money dial, which is convenience. And then there are a variety of other money dials I talk about, including relationships, luxury, status, and on and on and on. Okay, so that's part 1. I'd love everyone listening and watching to really think, what do I love to spend money on? Then the second question I'm going to ask you, Margaret, everybody follow along. If you quadrupled your spending on your money dial, food,
Okay.
what would it look and feel like?
It would look and feel like eating fancy food more often. I mean, eating high-end restaurants and trying food that I'm not sure I'm going to like with less anxiety, I would say. Like I would feel if I'm going to spend $300 on a meal right now, I have anxiety that it's not going to be good enough to have spent that much money on. And I've had that experience and then I hate that experience when I spend money on stuff.
Let's break it down. More often, how often?
Once a week.
Okay, great. You'd eat out once a week. You'd try different types of food, cuisine. Can you give me an example of what adventurous cuisine you might try?
Well, I live near New York City and I might go to like a sushi restaurant, one of the sushi, like omakase, where they just sort of serve you whatever on the menu. And
love it.
Yeah.
And then, so I love these 2 things. What else? Are you going alone?
Oh, no. Well, me and my spouse.
Okay.
Anybody else? I might go with a larger group of friends. Yeah. Treat people. That would be fun.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we just did. So what a beautiful vision. I can see you at an omakase counter with your spouse. Maybe you have a couple of friends. The bill comes, you go, you know what? This one's on me. I just love that we could spend time together. Like, look at that smile on your face.
Love it.
Yes. Okay. Everybody notice what just happened. This was such a beautiful example. We all have a money dial, at least one, which is the thing we intuitively love to spend money on. The question I just asked Margaret, and she so beautifully answered it, was, what if I spend more on it? Now, the natural answer that everybody gives is, I would just do more of it. It's very linear thinking. Well, I eat out once a week. I'd eat out 4 times a week. And that's fine. All right, fine. I don't mind that. But there's so many deeper ways to look at spending money. It's about where you would go. You probably wouldn't go, like I had somebody tell me they eat at Chipotle. And I'm like, what if you 2X, 4X, 10X? You're probably not going to only eat at Chipotle. You might try some other things. I love what you said. You said, I'm going to try different cuisines. I'm going to be abundant. And maybe 1 out of 4 of them I'm not going to like, but that's okay. Right. Because I'm taking more swings. I love that. And then the final part, at the highest level of money, it's never about what you buy. It's always about who you are doing it with. Who are you serving? Who are you delighting? Who are you bringing with you? That's a rich life. So you encompassed all of those things in that perfect example of omakase.
That's awesome. I love it. So is the goal to get there? Like, why are we using these dials? I guess, we were just talking about the Pottery Barn phenomenon, we call it, where you go in and you're like, I could be a person who grinds my own herbs in mortar and pestle, but I don't even really want to do it. I more want to think about doing it. But where am I trying through this system to be sitting with 12 of my friends at omakase? Like, what am I doing with these dials?
Why are we even talking about money dials? Let me tell you, most people spend their money on what is in front of them. And if you take a look at where they are spending money, which I do every single week on the podcast,
right?
They are spending money on eating out. They are spending money on their car. They're spending money on arbitrary Amazon purchases.
Right.
And I don't blame anybody for doing that. The world is set up to encourage us to spend. But it's so important to zoom out and say, what is my rich life? Let's start there. Is my rich life actually amazing sushi? Cool. Then let's figure out how to use your money to live it. And here's the philosophy everybody should be following. I want you to spend extravagantly on the things you love, as long as you cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't. So if somebody tells me, hey, I love to travel in seat 2A and I'm going to stay at this amazing hotel, or we're going to eat at 3 types of restaurants, or we're going to take our kids and they're going to go on a food tour with us and try all these new foods and even chop up little things. Amazing. You should spend extravagantly, but that also means you should probably be cutting costs mercilessly on other things. And suddenly when you look at where your money is going, almost everybody listening is going to realize the way I am spending money today is not aligned with my vision of a rich life. And that is the moment that you and your partner can start to say, oh my God, we're out of alignment. How do we now use our money to actually live the rich life that we both want?
I think it's such a good point. My spouse and I, maybe 3 months ago, cut ourselves off of Amazon Prime because what we realized is with 3 kids and 2 of us, I need a highlighter for school. Okay, we'll order it. Okay, we need, this pan's getting a little flaky. Yeah, we'll order it. Like that when we allowed that stream, and it also was causing a tremendous amount of junk in our house and emissions, everything about it. I was like, and it has forced us now, if we want to buy something, to find a local store that sells it. And it's much harder and it takes a lot of the things off the list. And we don't spend that way anymore. And it was a small adjustment. And what I like about the book is that it focuses on the joy of intentionality, not the, what do you call, hunger of giving things up or the pain of giving things up. It's the joy of the intention, because I think we often think of it as I have to go on a diet, basically. That doesn't sound fun.
I agree. So much of personal finance advice is about restriction. I mean, it's literally telling people to eat rice and beans. It's telling you that you are morally virtuous if you can cut back on everything. And the way that it's presented is so negative. Oh, no, you can't buy jeans. No, you can't eat out. No, you can't do anything until you're 95 years old. And then maybe you can take a bus tour. Who the hell wants to live like that? You got to live a rich life today and a richer life tomorrow. Now, that might mean that today you can't afford to go out to the omakase with 5 other people. That's okay, but at least you have the vision. And you go, okay, now that I know what would feel amazing, what's the plan to be able to get there? And it might take 6 months. It might take 10 years. That's okay. I'll give you an example from my own life. So I'm Indian. Of course, I knew I was going to have a big wedding. I already knew, and I knew I wanted to. I started saving for my wedding in my 20s before I ever met my wife. I also saved for an amazing honeymoon because I decided that in my life, one of my philosophies is that for the important things in life, I don't want cost to be the primary thing I look at. I want to look at joy or experience. It's like when you go to a restaurant. I'm not looking at cost first. I want to see, what do I feel like? What sounds great? So I did that at a bigger level for my wedding. I started in my 20s. I put money aside. And when it came time to plan for our multicultural wedding, bringing all of our family and friends together and, different types of food and all that stuff. Yes, we had a number that we were, conscious of, but we started by saying, what's the experience that we want to create? And that is the same thing that I want for anybody, whether it is as small as every Friday, we want to be able to go after school and get an ice cream. Okay, cool. Let's put that money aside. Let's create the vision. Let's talk about it and revel in it, to as big as we want to travel once a year to a beautiful place. Okay, amazing. I love the vision. Can't do that this year. We don't have enough yet. But if we start saving now, beginning next year, we can do that. That is really using intentionality and the joy of living a rich life.
Love the joyfulness. We're going to take a break and we're going to talk about teaching our kids about money.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
So before we move on to our kids, I want to pause for a moment and think about a person who might be listening and saying, these people are talking about omakase restaurants and vacations, and that feels to me as a military spouse who is cutting coupons and, struggling to make the rent payment every month. Really far away, this isn't a conversation for me. And so I want to circle on. First of all, the book has a lot of practical advice and worksheets and ways to talk about your finances. We're not just talking about finances for people who can't figure out how to spend all the money they have. So talk to the person who's listening who may not have heard themselves in this conversation yet.
I love that you're talking about this. If you imagine how most of us treat money, it feels like driving on a dark road. It's foggy, and all you can see is 15 feet ahead of you.
Right.
You're holding on for dear life. And if I asked you, what year are you going to be debt free? You're like, year? What are you talking about? All I can see is 15 feet ahead of me.
My dude, I'm about to go in the ditch. I got to just keep going with my hands on the wheel as tight as I can.
Exactly. And I understand that. I'm sympathetic to it, especially because, how I grew up, my parents are immigrants. My dad worked. My mom stayed home with us, big family. And it actually makes me laugh now that I think about some of the things. Like I look in people's cupboards sometimes on my podcast just to see like what are they putting there. And I saw somebody the other day and they had saltines. I love saltines; they're so good,
the best.
But when we were kids, that was too expensive for us, the brand name. So we were getting the generic one, and it was like
they didn't have enough salt. The cheaper ones don't have enough salt.
Yes, I learned quickly. Name brand saltines are amazing, and also we once had generic cheese, like American cheese.
Yeah.
And we even told our mom, like, Mom, please don't get this again. Just get the Kraft. It actually tastes different, please. So like, this is the level that we were talking about. However, if you are gripping on for dear life and you are only paying your bills month to month, I want to show you a way to zoom out and look at the big picture. Because so many people spend their entire lives logging into an app and paying bills, which, by the way, in my opinion, you should not have any financial apps on your phone. There's actually no purpose to it. You should set up your automation so that your money is automatically being transferred. We spend so little time looking at where real wealth is created. That is things like automatic savings, automatic investing. In other words, if you are gripping and only looking 15 feet ahead, I understand there are times in life where it's really tight, but we have to find a way to be able to see 30 feet down the road, 300 feet, half a mile. Same with our money. We have to start putting even $20 a month into investments, then 50, then 100, because it really adds up. And that is where true wealth is created, which starts to allow you to live a rich life.
Right. And you can do this starting from that white-knuckled place. You don't have to wait until...
No, you can do it right now. If you're in debt, you can live a rich life. If you have $150,000 of student loans, you can live a rich life. If you have $28,000 of credit card debt, you can live a rich life. If you and your partner have never talked about money without getting in a fight, you can live a rich life. It takes work, just like anything else. We learn the language. For example, we learn a different language. It's going to be, you're going to learn some new vocabulary. But this isn't complicated stuff. This is quite straightforward, but it does take you saying, I intend to live a rich life. I deserve to live a rich life. And all this work that we are doing, what do we get from it? Surely it cannot just be paying bills.
I like that. Let's talk about teaching our kids about money. We're talking to a lot of moms. And let's talk about some of the language we use, starting with the phrase, we can't afford it. And you talk in the book very specifically about language around money, which is sometimes something I think we don't think that much about.
It came up from me speaking to so many adults on my podcast. And I always ask them, what do you remember your family saying about money when you were a kid? The most common answer is, we can't afford it. And the second most common answer is, they said nothing. They didn't teach us a thing. Both of those, they leave lasting imprints on the adults that I speak to. And it's quite haunting because whether it's my nieces and nephews, whether it's the people I speak to on the podcast or on my newsletter, kids are smart. They start to pick these things up age 3, age 4. By 5, they know. The parents that I speak to will say, oh yeah, our daughter thinks that we are poor. So I had a haunting example. There was a couple I spoke to. I believe they lived in Kansas. They made great income. And one day their daughter, who was elementary school age, came home and she had been given like a care package from the public school. And it turned out that her teachers thought that her family was in financial trouble, that she couldn't afford. And they're actually doing quite well. Her mom laughed it off. Like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Dad was furious. How could they think that we are poor? And I asked them, how do you talk about money at home? Oh, we don't talk about money. I said, really? How come? Oh, we want to let her be a kid.
Right.
We want to protect her from money. Think about it. Protect your kid as if money is a bad thing. No, it's a great thing. We get the chance to talk about, for example, when they are 4 or 5, pull them up and say, mommy or daddy is going to click this button. It helps us have this beautiful house and that we can eat food every night. Do you want to help me push the button? Push the button for me. Okay, boom, they pushed the button. Oh, let's clap. Great job. We're starting to connect joy with money. We're also letting them see their mom or dad engage with money in a healthy way. Then by the time they're a little bit older, hey, we got to go to the grocery store. Here's how much we have. Here's the list of things we need to get. How do you think we should get it? And eventually they're doing it. They know how to do it. They're making trade-offs. They're not counting taxes yet because they don't know what that is, but soon they will. By the time they're 16 or 17 years old, imagine your 16 or 17-year-old has helped plan a family vacation, including everything like transportation, taxes, tips, and managing a family of people who maybe don't want to be out in the sun all day. Or they have helped buy a family car, including looking at all the different features and what should we get with the amount we have. By the time they graduate high school, they are very well equipped to understand money, trade-offs, a rich life, all of those things.
Yeah, and it's not being taught in schools. I mean, I know for us, they showed you how to fill out a check, and that was your accounting education in school. And, we talk about this in so many arenas. If you don't talk to your kids about it, they will think there's something bad about it.
Yes.
And they will fill in the blank themselves. And you don't want them to do either one of those things. And another thing that you say that I think from the other maybe end of the spectrum is it's okay to say no to children, and that setting boundaries around money, or really setting boundaries, period, is love.
Okay, tell me if this is a good idea, because I don't know, a lot of people have trouble saying no, like in general, to kids. I have never had trouble. In fact, I actually relish it. So I have an idea for starting a business. It's, how there's like these SaaS services, SaaS, software as a service. I want to create something called a NAS, which is no as a service. So any moms or dads out there, you have a problem, your kids are asking you for gummy bears or a freaking wagon, whatever they want. You just email me, and then you say, and CC them too if they have email. And you go, hey, Ramit, what do you think about this? They want to get a $750 freaking bike. And all I do is write back with one word. No. Is this a good idea?
This could be $1 million concept. Could definitely be.
This is my dream. This is my dream.
And I mean, no is hard for lots of reasons. People who grew up with scarcity sometimes feel that the ability to provide for their kids, they feel it as love. There's a lot of complicated emotions. As we always say, it's an iceberg. The top is what you're seeing, and underneath is we grew up with scarcity. We grew up with too much money, but not enough love. There's a lot that goes, you came from a family and a system that treated money in a certain way. And sometimes we're repeating patterns, and sometimes we're swinging the pendulum a little bit too far. And we're trying to reverse those patterns and ending up with a whole new set of problems.
You're nailing it completely from what I see as well, which is most often people are simply repeating patterns and never actually thinking about it. The most common example is they grew up with their parents saying, you can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So they now believe that they have a scarcity mentality. Money is something bad. You never have enough. And then I'll speak to them as adults. They're 30, 40 years old, and I look at their numbers, and sometimes they're doing quite well. They have a nice job, maybe 2 incomes, and they still worry about money. They worry. Why? And we trace it back because mom said and dad said you can't afford it. And what we realize, this is why I say the way you feel about money is highly uncorrelated with how much you have in the bank. I'm literally looking at their numbers. I'm seeing the calculations. I'm looking at their net worth. They're doing fine in many cases, but they don't feel that way. And that is why money is not just black and white. It's emotions, it's psychology, it's three-dimensional. And remember that when you're talking to your kids. It is so important to not just say, we can't afford it. You may not be able to afford it. Like my mom and dad couldn't afford a lot of things. They would explain why. And they also said, anything for education, we will find a way. I actually learned in my early 20s, because I would talk to my parents as adults about how do they do money with a big family and not too much. And I learned all these things that actually blew my mind. My mom told me that we were in soccer and there's like fees, and you got to buy these uniforms and stuff. And my mom called them and she was like, look, I don't have the money for this. I have like multiple kids in soccer right now. Is there anything you can do? First off, just asking, is there anything you can do? She had to do that. She's in a new country. She had to do that. But second, they told her, we can waive the fees if you come and chalk the fields before your kids play. I only learned in my freaking 20s that my mom was out there chalking soccer fields so that we could play public soccer. That is resourceful. What kind of lessons do you think that teaches me? And everybody now listening, that is, you can say no to saltines because you simply cannot afford it. And you can explain why. Look, that's not a part of our family's rich life. However, for the things that really matter, kids' athletics, education, time together, you can be resourceful and not always, but often find a way.
Yeah. And you can talk about your values to your kids, but your kids are watching what your values are. Your mom's values were so clear that whatever anyone said about what your values are, your mom was up early chalking a field so that you could play soccer. And that is what your kids are watching and learning from you.
Yeah.
They're not listening to what your values are. They're seeing what your values are through your actions. And money is part of that constellation.
Yes.
This book is, we've been talking about it a little bit at the 30,000 foot level and having kind of big conversations about it. This book is also extremely practical. I just was saying before we got on, mine is posted in and I got the little post-it flags going, lots of charts, lots of exercises to really get into how to do this in a very practical way. Ramit Sethi's book is Money for Couples. Tell our audience all the places they can find you since they enjoyed this conversation so much.
Thank you so much. You can find me on the Money for Couples podcast, where I speak to couples every week and they share real numbers. Some of these couples are in $250,000 of debt. Some of them have $5 million in the bank. It's all different types of couples in all different scenarios. And you will truly not believe what people say behind closed doors. It's quite amazing. You can listen or watch that podcast. My book, Money for Couples, is available everywhere, public libraries, bookstores, everywhere. And you can find me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the above.
And you're driving, you're doing dishes, you're changing diapers. We link to all of these places. So you don't have to worry about putting stuff down and getting a pen. Look at the show notes for this episode and you will find all the places to find all of these things. Thank you so much. This was an excellent, I knew when I read the book, this was going to be a good one. Excellent conversation. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.